I'm still muted. Good evening, all of martinmcfcfantv. How are we all doing? Friday evening. So you know it is our usual Friday night social. I hope we're all good. The guests are waiting in the background. I'm just going to do a quick hello to everyone. Easy could be a threat tomorrow, but I'm confident in a win. You mean Sunday, mate? Hello, Adam Quinn. How are you? We'll talk a little bit about that, Sean, but we're going to leave the Crystal Palace stuff more to Sunday. Tomorrow, sorry, for Andy to do. Aberdeen, hello. How are you, mate? Hello, Doopy. Tom's on. Good evening, all. Hope everyone is well. Thank you all the support last night. Meant so much. Here's to another good evening, another good live. Yes, Tom did his debut show and did very, very well. So well done to him. Good evening, Blues. Hope everyone is well. Charlie, Tommy did a great job, mate. Evening, all. John Grogan's on. Missed your stream last night, Tom. I believe you're replacing Martin as you did so well. Yeah, in his dreams. He's got a lot to learn off me yet, though, Shadows. Don't you worry. I'm only joking. Won't be replacing Martin. We're working as a team. Yeah, exactly we are. Evening, Ronnie Beaver. How are you, mate? Hope you're good. CM Sitter, hello. Martin, you're never on time. Kex, I was waiting for guests tonight. Wasn't my fault. Wasn't my fault. But speaking of guests, let's start bringing them in because there's quite a few of them. First one, you all know. Here he comes. Evening, mate.
How are you, buddy? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad.
Got your coat on again?
I know. Well, seeing as it's my final stream before I get replaced, you know, I'm going to make sure. Apparently, I'm being replaced, according to Shadows. How are you?
All right, mate. Things should always improve, Martin. That's how life should be.
Oh, he's even got backhanded snide comments now. Kurt, how are you, buddy?
I'm very well, thank you, Martin.
Good,
How about yourself?
Not too bad. Friday night, and I'm quite in a good mood. I'm in a really good mood this evening. Chris is looking out. Are you on the Moretti yet?
Hey, what?
Are you on your Moretti yet?
No, mate.
No.
Nope.
Oh, what?
No.
I'm going to leave two really, really good guests. They have been on before. They've not been on a Friday night social before. One has, one hasn't. All the way from Australia. No, it is not Sir Alan. Believe it or not. It is not Ross. We've ditched those two. We've brought in a couple of real Australian natives, shall we say. He's laughing in the background, one of them. Simon Hill, how are you, buddy?
Very good, but I'm not Australian, even though I've lived over here for 18 years. I'm still a Manc.
You live over there. You're native to over there. You know what I mean.
Well, I got the passports, but yeah, no, I still identify as a Manc and a Blue.
Yeah.
Magic.
You know what Simon is? Simon joined me and Chris for a empty seat show and was absolutely magnificent. But tonight, he's not going to come and talk to you as a sports commentator, journal. He's going to come and talk to you as exactly what he is, a Manchester City fan. That's exactly what he is. Our fifth and final guest, he's been on before, but he is a former Manchester City player himself. And he was late on the stream. Like I said, Simon, late on the stream, like he was late in his challenges as well when he played. But here he comes, the one, the only, Spencer Pryor. Evening, mate.
You told me 8:45 and I was here at 8:45, wasn't I? Mind you, I might have been a few seconds late.
Like I said, like you're tackling.
Breakfast time here. Breakfast. I had to have 2 coffees before I come on here this morning. So
didn't make me one.
Well, no, you don't drink coffee. You're Australian, Simon. You're Aussie.
Yeah.
That did make me chuckle. That did. Honestly, that was good.
Yeah, you love that. To what everybody who doesn't know, me and Spencer know each other pretty well, and I call him the badge kisser because every club he went to, when he scored a goal, he kissed the badge, and he like, how many badges can you kiss?
All of them.
Apart from the Cardiff City one, eh?
Yeah.
You won't go there.
Well,
Okay.
this is
Oh dear.
Spencer Pryor is loved in Cardiff. They absolutely love him down there. Are you not going to go back and manage him one day?
Nah, Neil Harris is doing a great job, mate. He's doing a good job. I'm really
I
pleased
think
for
he
him.
should go in as assistant, get in as assistant coach.
Well, I think, being another Essex boy, he's good. He's doing a great job down there, and I think he'll probably eventually take his mate with him, Adam Barrett, who I played with, another good Southend boy, who is cutting his teeth really well in coaching at Millwall now. So, yeah, it won't be long before then. They're doing really well down there. That's
Spencer's in coaching anyway, Martin. He's got a job. He's
Mm.
coaching the women's team at RPA Leichhardt here in Sydney. He's on the way to the Women's World Cup.
Keep finding myself coaching female teams, eh? I keep finding my way in that way. It's bizarre, but it'd be fun.
Good, man.
Hey, you might follow Phil Never over to Miami in a few years.
Look, I don't think there has been much love lost between him and England supporters in terms of how he did it with the national team, but he's had a go at it. And apparently, from speaking to a couple of the players, they really rated him in terms of his communication and how he spoke to them and kept in touch and kept updated. But at least he's had a go at it, and obviously now Gareth Taylor's doing it as well, so nothing wrong with it.
Yep. And Wayne Rooney's just got the permanent job at Derby as well.
Yeah, it's good for him, I think, and now officially retired from playing. And he had a great career as a player. We all have to acknowledge that. But it's a really, he went in as a player coach, and now suddenly he's a manager. I hope it works out for him, but the club's been really struggling financially. So hopefully they can get this takeover sorted, and it'll be good if they can get that done and start to move forward, get back up into the Premier League again. The supporters are brilliant there. It's a great club. I did kiss that badge as well, by the way, Simon.
Well, Derby County, yeah.
I had a great time there. I loved it there. It's good.
Good club.
Noah
Derby.
says Simon's mic is crisp. I hope it is.
Does that mean good?
Yeah. I mean, I thought you were a mank. Come on.
Well, I've been away from Manc for a long time, mate. I haven't been there since '87, so the accent's gone a bit, but it's still there. When I talk to my parents, apparently it comes back out. The nasal drawl comes back out.
I'm waiting for Alan to get his Aussie dialect going. He doesn't seem to be doing it yet.
It's difficult, the more years you're here, I'm not sure it's affected Spencer, but that's because he lives on the northern beaches, which they call it over here the Insular Peninsula, which is quite right. But you sort of, you pick up words almost through osmosis. You don't intend to develop an accent, but you just do. Although Spencer still sounds as though he could be in Basildon or Braintree or somewhere.
Osmosis. I'm going to use that word sometime this week.
You use that one. He's right midtown.
Like that one.
What we're going to do, we're going to crack straight on into our first subject this evening, which is, as the thumbnail said, emotionless football. If you didn't know, obviously there is a pandemic over here in England, and the Premier League is getting worse and worse for positive tests, and there's more players being tested positive, and there's games being called off left, right and centre at the moment. Aston Villa currently in the middle of a crisis. Game off last week, game off this weekend, possibly going into Wednesday yet for our game. That's not confirmed yet. Fulham obviously had a game off. We've had a game called off. And what we decided to do is, because the authorities love to do what they love to do, they say it's the fault of some of the players celebrating goals. Now, what I'm going to do, I'll read a little extract very quickly from the Chief Executive, Richard Masters, who says Premier League players need to set a good example and follow the rules. He wrote this he wrote to clubs on Wednesday to stress the critical importance of adhering to strengthened protocols. Clubs were reminded that handshakes, high fives, and hugs must be avoided, and players should social distance wherever possible on and off a football pitch. Yeah, I will read that out to you again. Players should social distance wherever possible on and off the pitch. He says the players get it, Marcel. They know we're asking them now and again to adjust their behaviours on the pitch, in the goal celebration and around the beginning and the end of matches. We're asking them to adapt and understand why you've got to follow the rules and you've got to set a good example. And apparently the patience is wearing thin with football repeated COVID breaches, and should players be hugging and all sorts of things. It goes on and on and on and on. Spencer, I'm going to come to you first. You're a former player. How do you feel about this? Are we becoming emotionless football?
When you started talking about the topic of emotionless football, I thought you were going to have a chat about the A-League, but obviously not.
Not very nice, Ben.
No, but you know, we're losing characters from the game for starters. If we're talking about emotionless football, we're losing characters. We're losing the, you know, if we're taking away one thing like the ability to celebrate a goal, I think it's misguided in terms of, you know, and it's non-football people that are coming up with this sort of rhetoric around social distancing on a pitch. You know, to throw social distancing on a pitch into a conversation is an absolute shambles. I kind of agree with it off the pitch, but at the same time, they've been put into these cyber bubbles, these bubbles, right, where it's like, you know, it's meant to be safe and secure, and yet we have seen all the breaches. It's pretty common knowledge that, you know, particularly in what's gone on, and I look at it, the Premier League is one thing, but, you know, we've seen recently some players have gone to Dubai over Christmas and come back, and games are getting cancelled because of people picking up COVID from that. Really, really hard to maintain social distancing and without being there, understanding and working, seeing how the day-to-day lives of these players are and what sort of parameters are put in place off of the pitch to make sure that everybody is safe. At a time when everywhere else seems to be locking down and shutting down, if we're getting to a stage where we're asking players to social distance on a pitch, I'm not sure we should be continuing playing. That's my view.
I'm just throwing in Alan's super chat. Thank you very much, buddy. Sydney Blues on Spencer. Where is your City pin badge?
Oh, I'll throw this in now, right? So I'm doing recruitment, right? So I go. There's this company, and they're doing this massive $2 billion project in Australia. So the head guy, the project director, I suddenly find this guy's number, and I send him a message, and I say, "Do you want to meet up for a coffee?" And he goes, "Yeah." So I was like, "Has this happened? How am I going to meet this guy like just out of the blue, right?" So I go to meet him, and we sit down and have a coffee, and he starts talking. I go, "Oh, where are you from?" And he went, "I'm a Blue." I went, "Oh shit, no wonder I've got a seat at the table with you." He goes, "Oh, I've watched you play loads." Anyway, so we start talking as big Man City supporter. So we meet up again last week, and he goes, "I've got a present for you." So he gives me this. Right, he gives me the present. I'm like, "Oh mate, that's so lovely." So name's Dave Watmo, and he is a member of the City supporters group in Sydney, the Sydney Blues. And, you know, we get a little selfie, and suddenly, you know, it's who you kind of meet, and the network is really strange. It works in weird ways. So thanks, Dave Watmo, for the badge. I did keep it on my suit all day on Friday, and it did become the topic of conversation. So, yeah, there you go. Thanks, Alan, for reminding me. Yeah, that's my view on social distancing and emotionless football. Hope that helps.
Yeah. We're just going to bring it. Ronnie B was giving a super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. Just for those following, my wife is now out of ICU, but still in hospital. But I'll take that for now. Cheers for that, love blues. Ronnie, that is amazing news, buddy. Absolutely amazing news. And I hope she's recovered quickly. As we know, Ronnie's wife has contracted COVID and she ended up in ICU with it. And we wish her all the best. Simon, you're a sports commentator, journo over in Australia. What is your thoughts on this? Now, do you understand why they're saying it, or is it becoming soulless football like this?
Well, I mean, of course I understand why they're saying it, because, this is a global pandemic and it's a massive problem in the UK. My issue is this, and, Spencer and I live in Australia, but we've still got relatives, family over in the UK. So, of course, we're worried about the situation. This speaks to higher powers and their inept handling of the coronavirus in general. You have a government who's, chief advisor to the Prime Minister, Dominic Cummings, flouted his own rules, essentially, and drove up to Durham. Well, what sort of an example is that setting? Before we start on footballers, I read just today that 12 months into this pandemic, they're finally closing the borders. I mean, 55, 60,000 cases a day. And after 12 months, they go, you know what? We should close the borders. Are you serious? This should have happened 12 months ago. Now, what happened in Australia, to be fair, and Spencer and I joke a lot about, the things that happen in Australia, some of which are very, very strange. But the one thing they've got right is this pandemic. They shut down early. They shut down hard. They kept it locked down. They shut the borders both externally and internally. And as soon as we get a little outbreak now, and I'm talking, the fingers of one hand, which we had on the Northern Beaches where Spencer lives a few weeks ago, it was less than 10 to start.
We had 12 cases up in a place called Avalon, right on the north coast of the Northern Beaches, and that was it. We were shut down, locked down. We couldn't even get into the CBD, which is 30 minutes away, and everybody abided to it. This is the thing. Everybody stringently abided to it. No one came in and no one went out.
It's true. And we've just gone back to wearing masks indoors for the first time in months here. And our current cases today, yesterday, there were no locally acquired cases in the country, not one. So all the cases that we've got here, which is about 18 and 19 in total, they're all in hotel quarantine. They're returned travelers. So without wishing to go too much into the politics of all this, I think in terms of football, yes, of course you understand why they're doing it. But you can equally understand why the footballers are going, well, hang on a minute. Why are we being targeted when nobody else abides by the rules and you keep changing the rules every 5 minutes? If the government can't abide by its own regulations, which Dominic Cummings didn't, and I've no doubt several others didn't as well, then what hope the general population? I mean, here they make a rule and everybody goes, yep, that's fair enough because we're all in this together. And everybody abides by it. As Spencer says, everybody wears a mask. I wear a mask when I go indoors, and we've got virtually no cases whatsoever. And I think in the UK, it's been way too haphazard. The borders closed down way too late. The lockdown came too late. It was released too early. It was all over the place. Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4. Nobody seems to know what the hell's going on over there and how to tackle this thing. And football, well, it's almost a byproduct. The problems affecting football. Personally, I'd shut it down, and I love football, but I'd close it down for 3 or 4 weeks because. The footballers are getting COVID as well. And I think it's, public health should come first as much as we love the game.
The other side, Simon, from footballers getting it, and no one really knows what the lasting effects are on athletes. No, this because it's a new virus, right? So everybody's saying, oh yeah, they're whether they're asymptomatic or they're not. and they're really struggling to breathe. When they do come back and they get back and they're fit and playing, nobody knows yet what the long-lasting effects are on athletes, on players. It's unproven yet. So, you know, there seems to be this herd mentality of let them get it, let them get over it, recover, and then they can get back out on the pitch, which is completely the wrong mentality.
Yeah.
Yep. Great.
Chris, do you agree with Simon? Do you think we should just suspend football rather than putting in a game that's going to end up looking... It's already soulless with no fans. And it's now... We're going to this extreme now.
I kind of get this celebration thing because it doesn't look great, does it? But what's the difference between that and a corner? You know, it's just a load of 20 players in a box, you know, tight together. So there's no difference. It's just aesthetically, it doesn't look good, does it? So really and truthfully, it is out of control in this country. We all know it. Simon's alluded to it quite well there. I won't go too much into politics because I might rant for an hour. I don't want to bore you all.
He will rant.
Yeah, we are stuck with a useless prime minister and a useless government. Unfortunately,
move on.
Right,
you ran.
Well, if you vote for a clown, you get a circus, Martin. Like I've told you before. So yeah, I think the best thing that can happen really is that we shut football down. It's not that important. It seems to normalise that, you know, that we're in a normal situation, and we're not. We're not a normal situation at all. I mean, at the first lockdown, there was nobody on the roads going to work. There was nobody going to on the roads. I go to work now. It's like a normal day. Yeah. If you make gin, you're a key worker over here. You know, you make cakes, you're a key worker. It's just bizarre. So, yeah, things have changed. They haven't changed for the right way. You know, they should have listened to Chris Whitty and Patrick Vallance and shut it down properly months and months ago.
Yeah, everyone. The key worker list over here, not being a key worker is shorter than being a key worker now. That's
Martin, can I just add one thing on the football side of things? I think the other thing that is starting to creep in now, we saw this in the FA Cup last weekend, Aston Villa having to play with essentially 11 kids against Liverpool in the FA Cup. You're starting to affect the integrity of the competitions. From a pure football sense, Derby County having to play with 11 kids against Chorley, and they lose 2-0, they're out the cup. So once you start affecting the integrity of the competitions because the clubs are having to isolate their players, then it becomes a pointless exercise, doesn't it? Because it's not a true reflection of what's happening on the park either. That's why I'd suspend it as well. Anyway.
Do you not think we sort of went down that road though last season when we suspended it and they changed all the rules when we came back? Because a lot of people said the integrity of the league had gone then as well.
Well, yeah, but at least everybody had that break, and we weren't having this huge spike in coronavirus cases, not just in the general population, but among the footballers as well. So you're actually having to isolate entire, first team squads, which Aston Villa had to do. Therefore, they had to play kids in the cup against Liverpool. That's affecting the integrity of the competition more than saying, well, you're all playing behind closed doors, which obviously affects teams, but at least you're all affected equally. Whereas this is sporadic, isn't it? Villa get affected, Derby get affected, City got a few cases here. Maybe your key players get affected. Maybe another club's key players don't. So I don't know. I think it's just starting to mess with the whole integrity of the competition for me, or some of the competitions for me.
Yeah. Kurt, I'm going to bring you in on this. A lot of people are saying in the comments, cancel the Euros. My thought is, I think the Euros being in the summer is part of the reason why we won't get suspended.
Well, on international competitions, I'm probably not alone in thinking that all of the international friendlies, every single international thing since this COVID situation happened is completely a farce, them even being played. You've got players who are living locally in Europe in their respective clubs, having to fly to South America, Asia, all over the world, going through the same quarantine processes, because obviously they're leaving the countries. My main point was going to be one that Simon took away. That is the dilution of the quality of the league. That is the real. What's the point in playing when Fulham think they have 6 days off, and then all of a sudden they're told they have to play someone 3 days later when he maybe would have given players days off. Maybe they first of all, they wouldn't have known that the game was going ahead. So I'm sure Spencer can speak to this, but getting yourself in the mentality of thinking you're going to play in 6 days, and all of a sudden you're getting paid, you're told in 3 is a very bizarre thing to happen in football. And it's very, very odd. And I think it was a disgrace for that to even happen, because they were just like, right, that game's out. Let's stick another game in there so we can get as many games in as possible. And I think, isn't there far more cases now than when we first shut down football in the first place? I'm pretty sure. I'm not too up to date on the exact number of cases, but I'm pretty sure.
We don't know on cases, do we? We don't know in cases because we weren't tested.
Yeah, because
hospitalizations are massive, much higher.
In regards to the celebration, it speaks to Chris's point. When they're taking a corner, they're going to be far more close to each other. Everyone knows how football is and what it's like in a box. You're trying to get a yard of space. You're putting your hand on their shoulder, on their back, trying to turn on them. So like Chris says, I think it's more of that aesthetically they don't like them all hugging and things. But I thought that was the point of the bubbles. So they're in their football bubbles, and then when they interact with another team, they have the tests afterwards to confirm if there's been any transference of if anyone's caught it, basically, and then you can isolate from there, right? So I don't see what celebrating changes anyway. If they're willing to risk them catching it just to play the game of football, then how does the celebrating make any feasible difference? So I think there's a lot of aspects to this, but they're all very strange.
Yeah, just in lieu with what Kurt said about players and their expectations to be able to just play a game at a drop of a hat when the fixtures are changed. From a playing and a coaching perspective, you plan your whole calendar. You would plan, what have we got ahead this month? When are we training? When are we playing? When are we in recovery? When are we going to play again? It also goes on to, as Simon was talking about, the integrity of the competition. So if teams have to play midweek, you play Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, or Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, whatever it is. Those back-to-back games, statistically, the percentages are far, far less. You've got a far less chance of winning those games with shorter recovery between the games. So you are actually affecting the integrity of the competition by throwing in those midweekers. You really are. We all adapt and understand playing midweek, but also if you don't have good, strong depth in your squads, which arguably Fulham don't have, right? So he wants to be able to go. They'd love to go Saturday, and then you can play your best 11 players every week. But the reality is, if you start throwing in midweekers, you've got COVID, you've got injuries, you're going to have to adapt and have a super strong squad. And it's okay for the guys like Man City, Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool, who have got that depth that can adapt. And we see Man City now, the way that the squad is adapted is incredible. But you're compromising the integrity by just expecting players to go and just make, changing the calendar and making fixtures up as you go along, just to get the competition done.
Yeah, it's a disgrace, in my opinion.
How would you view it, Spencer, as a former player yourself? If you're told, obviously the circumstance, it's a pandemic, there's no fans in the stadium. I don't know if you ever played, with no fans in a stadium, but, and then you're told you can't celebrate.
He played for Southend. They didn't have fans in the stadium.
Well, yeah.
Oh, look out. Oh, from a big club, are ya?
Oh, if you come in hot.
Hey, we got up to championship. We had a couple of good seasons.
Yeah, you got up to the championship and got...
We were top of the championship. We were top of the championship on New Year's Day in 94, 93, 94. Top of the championship. Beat Newcastle at home 4-0.
You were in the championship and Kevin Orlock bent a free kick in. We beat you 3-0. So let's not go down that road.
Blimey. I don't know if I was still there then. Anyway. But players will do what players have to do, right? And they get paid decent sums of money to do what they do, and you know, you want to train and you want to play, and ultimately you do want to play. There's no point training if you're not going to play games, and the games ultimately still, even at top level, the games are the reward for all the hard work that you do in the week to prepare for that game. So players will do whatever they need to do to make sure that they can still play games. That's where you get rid of the adrenaline, and then it starts to really build up, and you get your release. So players will want to keep playing. There's no doubt about it. We've started seeing COVID creeping into the players now, which might change the mentality of some in terms of international windows, whether they're going to travel, if they travel, can they get back in the country with the borders getting shut now? And if they come back in, do they have to quarantine, which means they're going to miss club football. So we're going to start to see the club v country conflict coming in as well. We're going to start to see that.
Won't footballers get a pass on that though?
Here we go again. It's another essential service. People getting bloody passes. Stop handing passes out for everyone and do a bloody lockdown.
No, I'm only saying because Chris is spot on. The way I said this is not going to turn into a political show. We're not Sunday morning, but the way argument is, footballers will come up with some rule where they say they're allowed out to go and play international matches because, like people say in the comments, is there too much money in sponsorship? Is there too much in the games for it all just to shut down again? Well,
it depends how you value the health and safety of other employees when someone comes back. You know, it's all about risk, right? And it's mitigating risk. Is it going to add risk if a player goes overseas and then comes back into the squad? If it's going to add risk, the player shouldn't be going.
The other thing, Spen, is we complain about, money being the driver of all things in football. I've seen a couple of the comments here. It's all about money and money in the TV companies wants it. Well, we fans actually have the power. If you think that football should be closed down, we can actually switch the TVs off. We don't have to watch it. Maybe that would send a powerful message, but because we love football, we whinge and moan about it, but we'll still watch it. And that sort of underlines the point as to why they keep playing. Yeah. So, at some point, maybe I always, used to be in the Bill Shankly school of football things that nothing was more important. It was more important than life and death and all that sort of stuff. But it's not, is it? Let's be brutally honest. As much as we all love football, it's not more important than people losing their lives. So maybe it's time that football fans actually, took a stand and said, actually, you know what? I'm not watching because we got to sort this thing out first. That's more important.
Chris, let me ask you a question on this. I think it was Charlie Austin's come out with a quote yesterday or today about emotion takes over as a footballer when you score a goal. Spencer, you score a goal. Go back to what Trevor Sinclair once said. I remember his quote. It's better than sex when you score a goal in front of everyone and away you go. Raw emotion takes over. Could you imagine that Aguero goal in empty stadium in 93-20 and he can't celebrate? He's literally just got to put the ball in the net. He's just won a league and gone, all right, I'm going to turn around now, forget that, and walk back to the centre circle.
Well, no, of course not. But you got to also ask the question, right, whether you get players who do these, organised dance routines after they scored a goal. Pogba and Bailey did it the other night. There's the one with what countries where they're doing the fish, reeling in the fish. These goal celebrations aren't all off the cuff, are they? Yet the Aguero one's a different thing altogether.
No, I'm just in the case it comes up because it may come up when we're doing all this.
It might do, but I think that's one goal. You're talking lots and lots of goals here. When football first came back, it came back in Germany, didn't it? And they did socially distanced celebrations, mate. So I don't think every goal would, has to be celebrated as what Charlie Austin's saying, mate. The Aguero moment's a bit of a one-off, or you're winning a cup, or you're getting, something big out of that goal. Then that's different. But as I could say, Martin, it's the celebrating a goal just doesn't look great. But when they're taking the corner, no one gives a stuff. But it's the same thing, really.
Or standing in a wall on a free kick, or it was that quote master said that they should try and social distance on a pitch. Could you imagine that with Kevin De Bruyne?
Well, you can't, can you?
I've got a social distance from your son. Run around, off you go.
I love the idea of a socially distanced defensive wall.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
You've got 2 meters gap each side. Off you go.
Goalkeepers going, you've got to close that up. We've got to stagger them.
Have to use a beach ball or something, make it fair.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
I mean, these are some of the rules, and then I'm going to go around the panel and ask them what they would do. But these are the rules that apparently they have to follow. They have to social distance while travelling, which I fully agree with. In the dressing room, they have to social distance. During a warm-up, they've got a social distance. When entering and leaving the pitch, at all times with match officials, which I've seen referees getting players' faces to butt them. So maybe they've got to look at the officials as well. During goal celebrations, they've got to use their own water bottles. They're not allowed to spit, which people say is a disgusting habit anyway. No handshaking or hugging, and no shirt swapping, which I understand. It was very much like they used to do the elbow thing, didn't they? That went out the window after about 2 weeks. That sort of went straight out the window after 2 weeks. I heard Simon Jordan. I know he's not the guru of football, but he was on TalkSport, our favourite radio show. So, if he was still in charge of Palace, he'd walk straight into their dressing room and he would literally bollock his players and tell them, if you do a goal celebration, I'm fining you. You're not doing. He was literally said he'd lynch him. He said, I'm the boss, I'm the owner, that's what I'd be telling my players to do. So, in a way, I get it. We're in the middle of a pandemic, but for me, I'd shut football down for a bit. I'd suspend it again because this country's in a mess.
Absolutely.
And like Chris says, we're meant to be in a lockdown. It's busier than ever out there. Lockdown, mine.
If you're gonna do social distancing in the changing room, it would be 2 at a time getting changed at places like Stockport and Bury.
Well, I was about to say that. How does that work as a player? Social
do that?
distance in the dressing room.
You've got to get changed in the car park, mate. That's how it is in your own car.
Old school. Brilliant.
Sunday league. Getting changed as you're going in.
No carpool as well. You've got to bring your own motor each.
Yeah.
No saving on the old petrol.
Right, I'll go around. Chris, would you stop football now? For a bit?
I think if you say for a bit, Martin, I think you're going to scrap it. Unless you get rid of the cup competitions and then just solely concentrate on league games, because I don't think there's enough time. So I think your decision is to scrap the season. And I think at the minute, mate, yeah, I think I would.
Kurt, what would you do?
Well, I said when the cases started going up that they should at least go for a circuit breaker, especially around the time where it's more susceptible to catch respiratory problems anyway, with it being winter, So I thought that the winter months, but I just don't see them doing it. They're going to just try and keep this as long as possible until they physically can't, until the government says no. That's what I think. But I think they should stop it.
Yeah. Spencer, what would you do?
Yeah, stop it. As Kurt said, a circuit breaker is a great term to use. Shut it down. Go with a proper lockdown. 3-4 weeks. Give everybody a chance to have a proper rest and get over this thing and actually try and impact the numbers. Again, it's not just football. It's society and it's communities as well. So just give a proper circuit breaker for 4 weeks. Short, sharp one. I know it's tough, and I appreciate you know, we've got mental health to think about as well, with people wanting to watch football, but at the same time, just try and see where you can get with reducing these numbers. And if it means football shutting down, shut it down.
Got another super chat off Alan. Thank you, buddy. The whole of Europe is in a mess, not just the UK. Yeah, the whole of Europe is in a mess. This UK is, the numbers are growing and growing and growing. I think we're the highest percentage of growing cases in the whole of Europe. I know we've got probably the most deaths now in Europe, haven't we?
We've got to also remember with the Europe aspect that there is, for example, Italy was struck very hard, but we all know Italian households have multiple generations in the same households, and there's obviously lots of factors that affect rates in different countries, but it's a cry and shame how poorly it's been managed in this particular country, because I can't speak for others because I don't live there. But yeah, it's a real shame.
Simon, what would you do?
Well, I tend to agree with Chris. I think it's too late for a circuit breaker. If you have a month break now, or 6 weeks till the end of whatever the national lockdown is, then you're not leaving yourself enough time to get all the competitions finished if you're going to play the Euros. And remember, there's the Olympics as well that a lot of players will be, going off to. There's the Copa America taking place during the European off season as well. Assuming all those tournaments are going ahead, I think it's too late for that. They should have done it in November, but then they should have had a national lockdown in November, and they didn't do that either. Yeah. So I think it's too late for that. So I agree. I think you've got to scrap the season basically. Now I know that's a drastic measure, but they've done it at non-elite level. All the clubs at semi-pro level, their seasons are effectively over. And when you have a national pandemics or national issues where people are dying, I suppose the closest sort of analogy to this is the Second World War. We did stop football for 5-6 years. It's not unprecedented. It's a different reason this time around. And everybody's saying, "Oh, what do we do if there's no football?" Well, stop people dying. What's your priority? Is it people's health? Or is it watching a game of football? We all love football. We're all passionate about it. But at the end of the day, life is more important. And people are getting sick in massive numbers in the UK, huge numbers. Like, again, just to bring it full circle, here in Australia, we told you at the start, we're down to single figures. It's very, very small numbers. We're still only having limited numbers at games, and the social distancing rules are still in place, and people are still wearing masks indoors. And we've got not a single locally acquired case in the country in the last 24 hours, and we're still doing that. And you're arguing over there whether to play football, and shut it down. It has to get this virus under control, and then in 6 months' time, when the next season rolls around, hopefully we're going to have fans back in the stadium and, get back to normal. But you're just delaying the inevitable, I think, at the moment over in the UK.
Yeah. Well, Shedder says, agree, spend it for a month to set the Euros off. Jaden Baker says, I don't think they will stop football until a player catches COVID while playing. Kex O'Neill, no football, no Man City fan TV. Mate, we still carried on when there was no football, if you remember. That's how the Friday Night Social got going. When football stops, we introduce things, don't you worry, mate. Footballers don't do nothing to me or the public in general. There are always ways to handle it better. Tom, one of our new presenters, says the financial side and the Euro Championships are the only reason football doesn't stop. UP said it's well managed in Canada. Maureen Tilia says, I work in a school, 100 teachers, no social distancing in the staff room. It's not just football. I hear you, Maureen, and I work in a school myself, and that's why all schools have to shut. Well, close to the majority of students, and a lot of schools are still running at 60% capacity at the moment. So, yeah. Andy Blue Moon, one of our regulars. Hi all. Hope everyone is safe. Kex is saying get real. NF Boris. Alan says it's a good debate. Daleman says COVID is here forever. We need to get used to it. And Kex O'Neill would have probably agreed because he said it's a virus, not a war. I think Kex, it depends how you view it and how you've got individual circumstances over it. I think you got to look at the rate of deaths, which is the problem in this country at the moment. That's the problem. Right, well, we're going to move on now to. I'm going to talk a little bit about the press conference today with Pep. Before, I'm not going to touch on too much of it because obviously we've got Andy's Crystal Palace preview tomorrow. But obviously Pep Guardiola did his normal press conference as he always does, about 48 hours before the game, which is the game on Sunday, and talked about a few things. Talked about his concerns for the Villa game. He said no. All he wants to talk about is Crystal Palace. Talked about how Palace have improved since the 7-0 thumping by Liverpool that they sustained, saying all clubs go through ups and downs more than ever. And every club has 2 or 3 good results and 3 or 4 bad results. He was also asked about Sterling's goal drought, where he said he's an incredibly important player for us, because he was basically, journalists asked whether he's regressed. And while I've got you two on, especially Simon, because you're obviously a sports journo, and Spencer as well, I think I'll move on to that. Raheem Sterling, Simon, has he regressed? Some members of the media over here says he has. Are we just panicking over one failed penalty on Wednesday night?
Yeah, look, he's not regressed. He's going through a bit of a spell that all footballers go through at the moment. And remember, without Aguero, which we've been for 95% of the season, probably a bit more than that, and Jesus has been in and out, he's also had to shoulder a lot of responsibility in terms of goals. So it was always going to happen that he was going to have a little dry patch. But speaking as a journalist, these are good narratives. These are good stories that help sell papers because it gets people talking. So, one of the things I really miss about the UK, and one of the things we don't have, as Spanner will attest to as well over in Australia, is we don't have that daily back page chatter about footballers. Are they in form? Are they out of form? Are they leaving the club? Is he injured? Has he got a problem at home? Has he got COVID? There's not that day-to-day debates in the newspapers and the media here about footballers, whereas in the UK there is. So, speaking as a journalist, you got 4 or 5 pages to fill every day. You got to find stories, and Raheem's relative lack of goals in the last few weeks, that's a good yarn. He's a big star, so I don't think it'll bother Raheem. I don't think it'll bother Pep Guardiola either. I have to say I'm a little bit concerned about the Palace game at the weekend because they've had a recent good record against us. Last couple of trips to Etihad, beat us 3-2 with those worldies. I seem to remember a couple of years ago, and got a 2-2 draw last year. Roy Hudson has a good record against us, doesn't he? Hopefully not this weekend.
He does. I'm just going to bring this up because Kiam will kill me if I don't. Spencer Pryor, City legend. Thanks for all the great memories. Top player.
Thanks,
there you go.
Can I tell you a quick story about how Spencer and I first met?
Go on then. Is it a good one?
It's a great one. It's a really good one. So you'll all remember the game where we won 4-1 at Blackburn and got promoted under Joe Royle. That famous day at Ewood Park where the whole ground was taken over by City fans. So Spencer obviously was playing, and I was commentating at the time for BBC Radio 5.
I was there.
You were there as well. I think a lot of people were there. So I was commentating, and my bosses at the BBC knew that I was a bit on edge for this game. So normally what the Radio 5 Live did, as I'm sure you remember, that when in the days when they had 2 commentators, you'd sort of split the halves up between the callers. I'd do the first 22 and a half minutes. The other guy would do the second 22 and a half minutes. Same in the second half. Anyway, for this particular game, my producer made an exception because they knew how important it was for me and said, look, you do the first half in the entirety because second half is when it's going to get really tense. And I think it was the late David Oates who actually did the second half. So I did the first half, and at halftime took off my official work garb, put my City top on and sat in the press box and cheered, which was pretty unprofessional of me, to be honest, all the goals as they went in. And then at the end, my producer said to me, okay, can you go and get a couple of interviews? We've given you a second half off to, cheer on your team. Can you go and get a couple of interviews? So I made my way down to the melee that was the pitch and went down the tunnel. The first City player I came across was Spencer Pryor. So we did a quick interview, didn't we? Spend about 3 or 4 minutes. And at the end of it, I was so ecstatic. I grabbed him and kissed him on the forehead. So that was the first time that Spencer and I ever met each other. And he must have thought, "What's this guy doing?" He's giving me a kiss.
What was even more disturbing, Simon, was the fact that when I was coming off the pitch, basically all the supporters had ripped my entire kit off, except my pants and my socks. So that's what made it a little bit more disturbing, mate.
I interviewed him in his jocks and gave him a kiss.
Hang on a minute. We've put up with a load of crap for years. You got promoted back to the Premier League. You're lucky you only had that happen to you. Trust me. That was a day that just I remember doing the conga around it. It was unreal. Never ever done a conga in a away ground ever before. That was weird for you to watch that. Watching, hang on, why are they doing a conga in the home end? What's all that about? I mean, me and Spencer talked about that before. I remember Spencer going over and hugging Joe Royle. I think it was on like the 4th goal or something. That was a day and a half. That was just outstanding. Chris, Raheem Sterling. The media is saying he has. We're asking Pep, has he regressed? What are your thoughts on it, buddy?
Well, I'm going to just say what Simon said. He's out of form, and that's all there is to it. Footballers go through patches where they're not playing well. And I said last night, if it was 0-0, I don't think Raz would have taken that penalty. But I'm sure I've heard Kevin say before he's given or set up a goal when he could have scored himself to Sergio or to Gabby or somebody, because he thinks it's important that the strikers score the goals for their confidence. And I'm sure that's what it all was about, was giving the ball to Raz, because he hasn't scored for a while, and hopefully getting his confidence going. So, he has been out of form for quite a considerable length of time, but he is quality. There's no two ways about it. And he'll come back strong, I'm sure.
Yeah. Kurt, you think the media are just doing what the media do, the Manchester City?
For the most part, I think I've got like I said before, a couple lives ago, that I think that Sterling's dip in form coincides with Sergio Aguero not being in the team as regularly. To echo onto Simon's point earlier, that he has to shoulder a lot more of the goal scoring responsibility, and it's not just that; it's space on the pitch. Because when you've got an elite player like Sergio drawing defenders away, it creates space for Raheem Sterling to do things. We often play against low blocks, and when you have low blocks with a lot less movement in the front line, you're going to often find there's going to be more difficult for the wide players to get the space that they normally would. But in regards to the media side of it, Sterling's had a lot more abuse from the media and came out the other side of it. He absolutely showed what pure class is, the way he dealt with all the abuse he used to get. And now they had to do the whole turnaround where they were like basically kissing his bum for quite a while, and now he's not scored a few goals in a few games. They're back onto giving him sticks. So I think he couldn't care less, to be honest with you. He seems like that sort of person who it wouldn't affect him too much. But I think when we have Sergio or Gabby available more consistently in the number 9, we're going to see Sterling perform a lot better, whether he be on the left or the right.
Yeah. City Chipper loves you, Spencer, as well. He's wants to thank
Can Kurt come down here and be an analyst on the telly down here? Because he's better than the ones we've got. Honestly, his analysis was absolutely spot on. regarding Reamstone. It's so true in terms of the impact for Sergio Aguero and him being out and the distraction that has, and players doubling up on him, which creates space for others. And he's talking about low blocks, and it's refreshing to hear. It's such a breath of fresh air, honestly. It's really true. And as you've all said, look, form is temporary and class is permanent. He's a top player, and I don't think he will be bothered one bit by what people are saying in terms of stuff in the media. That's their job. And even as Simon said, we don't get that down here, the day-to-day constant analysis of players and their form and what they're having for breakfast. Is it right, and hugging. And we don't get that sort of stuff. And it's part and parcel with being a professional footballer, and he'll be able to adapt. Water off a duck's back for him. So he'll be fine.
I was just, like I said, I don't want to go too much into the Palace preview, but what I'm going to do is, if you all want to go and just give your thoughts initially on the Palace game, what you think the score will be, and then Chris, start with you, buddy, because I don't want to step on too many toes for the preview tomorrow.
Oh, calm down. You said it about 10 minutes worth of the show, right? Calm down.
Always on one. Get me rested out here. Shut up.
I think as Simon said, Palace have done well against us last couple of games at the Etihad, so they're not going to be easy. They made life very difficult for Arsenal last night. Bit of a turgid game, but that's what they'll want to do again, defend. But they actually look like a team with a bit of threat on the break with Zaha and Easy. They got some decent players, some experienced decent players as well. So they're never easy. I don't know what it is about Palace, but I never feel confident about playing with them. But I'll go for 2-1 to us.
Okay. I'm going to come to the analysis of the year before he gets pinched off by Australia to go down there and do some football punditry. Our very own Gary Neville. Well, no, I might be insulting him here. Kurt, go on, Kurt. Give us your thoughts on Palace and your score prediction.
I watch Palace a lot. I like Palace. I always think back to the game where we had to save the penalty on the very last minute. Was it New Year's Day away at Palace? And they're a horrible team to play. They rested Van Aanholt, so we got to watch out for Eze and Van Aanholt and Zaha tripling up on that side. What's surprising about this year is Benteke somehow found a bit of form. He scored a few goals. His hold-up play looks good. The ball's not bouncing off him. Seems to actually be sticking. So they're an annoying team to play, and their goalkeeper's in great form. That guy, I don't know, he's quality. But I think we'll win. I think we'll have enough to get the job done. But as score goes, I don't know. I think it'll be like a 1-0. I don't think it'll be a open game of football in that sense. Lots of chances.
Well, Kiam's as positive as ever. 4-0 Crystal. Kiam's a wind-up merchant. That's just the first half for Chris. Simon, talk to me as a fan, not as a journal here. Talk to me as an actual fan.
Right. I think we'll win at the weekends, despite what I said about Palace having a good record at the Etihad. The one thing I do like about what Pep has done this season, although it appears to have been at the expense of scoring a bucket load of goals, is that he's tightened the defence up. I mean, for probably the first time that I can remember, I've not got my heart in my mouth every time the opposition breaks forward at pace. Yeah. I think the addition of Ruben Diaz has been a masterstroke, really. For all the talk during the off-season that it was going to be Koulibaly from Napoli or one or two others. And I remember when they signed Diaz thinking, is he like third or fourth choice? I'm not sure about this guy, but he's been magnificent. I mean, and they're getting the best out of John Stones as well at the moment as well. So they look a lot more solid. And that gives me confidence, because Palace are the sort of team, a bit like Leicester did to us, early on in the season. They can play on the break and they can hurt you because they've got pace, particularly with Zaha and one or two others. So I think we'll be okay. I think we'll win, but I'm the same as Kurt. I think it'll be narrow because we're not in that groove of being able to score a lot of goals at the moment. So I think it'll be 2-1 or 1-0, but I think we'll win.
Spencer, what do you think?
Look, I think the comment's been made by Pep recently that he thinks that they're back to almost playing their best football, which is, I think they are up until the final third. And then obviously because of the inconsistency in terms of who the front three are, they're playing without a real true recognised number 9 at the moment. And I think that's the end product. That's where the goals come from, right? So the football leading up to the attacking third has been brilliant to watch. Really, really sensational. It's how they're going to open up. How are they going to open up a Crystal Palace that, as Simon said, got beat 7-0, and there's nothing like a good 7-0 whacking to give you a little wake-up call in terms of your defensive structure. And they've actually been a lot more resilient recently and got really good organisation. So, again, I think it will be tight and close. I think, as Simon said, the defensive qualities are a lot better now. Stones and Diaz looks like a really, really solid combination. So I think they'll keep a clean sheet. And I'd like to say 2-3-0. It all depends if they can score early, then I think I'll go 3-0. But if they don't score early, if they don't score in the first half, I think we'll just stick at a little 1-0. And I think they'll win. I'm confident they'll win. It's just if they get an early goal, it changes the concept of the game and might open up a bit more space.
Yeah, good point. I'm going to go for 3-0, and then we'll batter these on Sunday evening. And Andy Blue Moon says he's our very own MCFC. Yes, I am. I will be doing a watch along on Sunday evening with the Lucky Blue Glass. Will be with us as well. What I want to move on to now is a question that Andy Bloom, I want to bring it up. I need to find it, and I'm going to come to Spencer with it because I can find it. I had it up, and then it had a massive jump in it in all the comments, and now I've lost it. Here we go. I know Chris wanted to talk about this as well tonight. What does Spence think of Diaz? Would he have loved to have played alongside him? He says, as for Raz, just about spelt, they're only human. But be a fine goal. So Spencer, Ruben Diaz.
He's very, very different, right? He's a bit more old school in terms of his defensive. He's defensive minded, first and foremost, which is unique for Pep to bring someone in that is that way inclined, right? So everything seems to be about play, and we've seen a few different combinations try to have a go. And I honestly think because of his super, super defensive mind, it's had that offset, and it's actually really helped John Stones and got him more in that mindset as well. And, I rate him highly. His positioning is excellent. His organisation, I think it's that stuff that he does off the ball as well in terms of organising other players around him, I think has been first class. I think his ability in the box to understand the priority of actually defending the box, which is critical. Often, we've seen players defend really zonal for Man City in and around the box, and players get space, which created a lot of opportunities. And his man marking skills are superb. So I rate him very, very highly. As a defender, possibly the best player at Man City at the moment, particularly on form, and the most important player. But that's my thoughts as a defender. Simon knows my understanding of that. But
would you like to play alongside Diaz or Andy Morrison if you had the choice?
Oh, here he goes.
I love playing alongside Jock. He was so good, mate. He was great. I didn't actually get to play that much with him because of part of the reason I was brought in was because he was injured. But yeah, it's not just on the pitch, Simon, but it's what he offered off it and around the training environment and in the changing room was next level. So
what was the biggest spray he ever gave you or a teammate? Because he was a leader.
Let's just say there was one situation where at Carrington where there was, I'd call it a heated discussion, but it might have been a little bit more than that between him and Paolo One-Shot. Oh my God. I'll leave it at that. It was pretty full on.
No, you will not leave it at that.
I'll leave it at that. No, you can talk to Jock about it, but it was pretty full on. We all just stood back and just let it go. But
yeah, I always thought that would have been to George Weah. I never thought that would have been to one.
George, yeah. George. God
I
bless
could
him.
imagine Morrison gripping him and going, I don't care who the frig you think you are. You're not in Serie A or wherever you are now, sunshine.
Yeah, amazing. We thought we'd signed his brother.
Remember you saying.
Honestly.
Do you know what it reminded me of? Do you remember that the guy who went to Southampton?
Ali Dyer.
Ali Dyer. I'm telling you now, we got the George Weah lookalike. I'm telling you now, we did, because that was not George Weah who turned up at Manchester. Not a kind of.
No, Andy Morrison was first class, first class, and we don't know. And without being around, I don't know what Diaz is like off the pitch in terms of how he communicates with players and what it's like off. But Andy was next level at that. So
you played more alongside Steve Howie, didn't you?
Really? Yeah, much more him, Jobbo, and Gerald Vegans. So,
well, Simon, obviously Diaz there. I love Diaz. And John Stones, them two. You've been there about Steve Howie. Spencer's been with them. Them two look like they've just got this partnership that is so unbreakable. Mm-hmm. And it looks like you see after every game, the hugging, they're doing everything they shouldn't be doing, high-fiving, hugging, and everything else that they're now not allowed to do. But those two just look inseparable. Is Diaz the reason Stones is, or is it Stones with Diaz? Nobody knows who's brought who up here. It's just like the two of them are just clicking.
Well, who cares? The fact is that they're working together really, really well. And somebody at some point was going to get the best out of John Stones. We all thought it was going to be Pep. Maybe it's Ruben Diaz. I don't know. But it does seem as though they have that innate understanding. And maybe as Spence alluded to, the fact that Ruben Diaz is so defensively minded and is such an organizer, vocally as much as anything else, that's helped John Stones because he's a different type of central defender. He's a ball-playing central defender. He likes to carry the ball out. He likes to be in possession of the ball. And maybe having that, that other character, it's like the classic yin and yang, isn't it? Sometimes you need that combination. If you have two players who are too similar, maybe that's a mistake that Pep's made down the years because he loves ball-playing defenders. He's had players playing together that are too similar. And maybe this is he's just struck upon this perfect combination. Whatever it is, it's working at the moment. It's giving Edison less work to do, which is good. And the other thing is, I still think we've got a bit of an issue at left back. I think we talked about this the last time I was on. I'm not sold on Mendy, but Cancelo has done well in that role.
Oh, don't you get someone. Tom's one
I know he's been. I like him as well and I know he's been playing at right back because Kyle Walker's been out. But with those two fullbacks, with Walker and Cancelo, and those two in the middle, Diaz and Stones, all of a sudden the defense looks as solid as it's been for years. Certainly under Pep. It's just unfortunate. Maybe we've lost a little bit at the other end of the pitch. Yeah. Partly that's to do with injuries. Partly it's to do with the fact that at times Pep has played this double pivot, which, even at home against West Brom.
Whoa, stop. That word is banned. He's not double pivot. We're not basketball. It's not basketball.
Well, you know what I mean.
Two
screeners, whatever you want to call it.
Who's come up with this double pivot thing? I'm blaming you, Kurt.
I'm going to use that RP. I'm going to write that one down.
The language, Spencer will approve this. The language in Australia is 2 6s.
I hate that.
No,
I
like
don't use
2
that. I
Or
never
the
use
two-
that,
no,
but
you
it's
don't, but I
terrible.
do here.
2 60s and 2 10s. And
But if
two
we're in
this,
South
two
America,
that.
it would have been 2 4s. Well, it depends. It depends where they are in the world. What numbers you could? Yeah, I don't like that system either.
You came up with double pivot. You up there,
Mate? It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I'm telling you what it is. I'm not blaming anyone, but I think it's American fans on Twitter. They're used to using that term, so they're that's where I'm going with it. But I could be wrong. But on Diaz, I think it's really interesting because I think what Stones has lacked a lot of the time is he gets his brain switches off for a moment and he has a lapse of concentration. And I think with Diaz next to him, Diaz holds him very accountable for the 90 minutes plus 3 and doesn't let him switch off, which is why we're seeing him being so consistent. What I find really interesting, I always thought Diaz was brought in to play the right side of the centre-back pairing, as we got in Ake and we have Laporte, which are both left-sided centre-backs and both left-footed. So I find it very, very, it's a testament to himself that he's gone into the left channel, Stones on the right, and they're keeping both. I know Laporte and Ake are both injured now, but even before them, they were keeping him out. So fantastic. And he's a good communicator. He seems to speak really decent English, and he plays in a national side that are used to winning and going for the top and have amazing players all around him. You know what I mean? And
he's 22.
Most certainly is. Didn't he get player of the man of the match in the Nation League where they won, right? Or the Euros they won, right?
You know, theoretically, we've got him for another 10 years.
At least 2.
Brilliant.
Yeah, quite scary. How good he could be. Chris, you want to talk about this? The best centre-back pairing for me in the league.
Well, I think they are at the minute, mate. There's no two ways about it. 9 games together, 1 goal. You know, that's some going, really. Cancelo's I read something in the MEN today saying that Diaz is a leader on and off the pitch. You know, so driven, and you can see it. You know, it's the high fives when a block's made by another player. He's the first one there to tell him, you know, good on you. And it is a bit old school, like Spencer said. You know, it's good to see. I think he's going to be around the city for years and years to come. The only person that you kind of worry about is where's Laporte in all of this.
Well, someone said that. Someone said, why not Laporte left back?
Because I don't think he's a natural left back. He's not bad for filling in, don't get me wrong. Maybe go to 3 at the back.
Was Zinchenko not left back?
No,
I don't mind Zinny at left back.
Oh, Simon, don't let's not go down that road.
I'm an ABM. I'm an ABM. Anyone but Mendy.
Yeah.
Can I put this out there, right? If he's 22 and he's got that ability to be a really good leader on and off the pitch, is there a possibility that he could be a Vincent Company?
Oh, that's what we're all hoping, Spencer.
We don't want to jinx it, mate. That's all. We just don't want to jinx it.
Yeah.
Or he could be a Daniel Van Boyten and disappear after 6 months.
Might be a Martin Demichelis. It could be worse. He could be a Spencer Pryor. You never know.
Let's say that.
Listen, I love Spencer. He knows. I love Spencer. Was amazing when he signed him. And
the thing with John Stones, right? What you know, everyone's talking about. The question was about Diaz, and then we talked a little bit about the impact on John Stones as well, and how that's made him sort of change his mindset. And you know, in his interview after they beat Man United, where he scored with his knee, he turned around and went, "We kept a clean sheet again." You know, that was what he wanted to embrace, was it's another clean sheet. And this is John Stones, ball playing centre back, that would rather seem to, you know, we always had that opinion. He'd rather be in a side that wins 5-3 or, you know, 4-3 or 4-2, you know, but it's another clean sheet. So that whole mindset has been really infectious right through. And no one knows what's going on behind the scenes in our PEP'S, you know, the training mentality, but it really has rubbed off on John Stones. So
So, Spence, say like that was a great announcement. Say you had Steve Howie next to you, Richard Jobson, or Andy Morrison himself. Anyone, was you more happy with a 1-0 than like? I presume you'll be happy with a 1-0 win than a 5-3 because you're thinking, right, we've done our job, we've won the game, and I suppose that gives you so much confidence. And did you need a proper partnership with you? Did it book you when you used to have a different centre back with you every week?
It does help to have stable partnerships where if it's back to the wall stuff, if someone makes a mistake and your partner they'll either be there to help you out or you help them out, or if there's an error and then you stay in the game until it stops, until there's a dead moment, and then there might be a little look in terms of, all right, reset, no problem. But it really, really does help to have good partnerships. And that's not just the centre-half partnerships. It's the right side centre-back with the right back. And it's then the two centre-backs and then the left back with the left side centre-back. They're all partnerships. They really are. And they're very, very unique as well.
Spanner, who is the best central defender? We've mentioned a few from City. I think you also played alongside Steve Walsh, maybe Jerry Taggart at Leicester.
Yeah,
one or two others. Who was the best one you played alongside?
Igor Stimac at Derby.
Derby.
Yeah, first class, unbelievable on and off the pitch. A real genuine, humble man, great leader, very composed on the pitch. And yeah, for top shelf. And I actually had probably my best, most consistent season playing alongside him at Derby. So yeah, first class in that regard.
Did you play with Kincladze at Derby?
Yeah, came in there. Brilliant.
Are you still in touch with him? Can you get me
that?
I love him.
You want me to?
I love him.
All right. No, he's first class. He was brilliant. Jim Smith brought him in, and yeah.
Can I tell you another little journalistic story about Derby County and Kincladze? I think you might have been there, Spanner, but I didn't see you on this particular day. So again, I was at the BBC and I was doing some feature on Branko Strupar. Do you remember him? Did you play with Strupar?
Yeah.
The
BBC
actually.
Yeah, he had this little purple patch playing for Derby, and all of a sudden he was a big star. And the BBC actually sent me over to Genk, his former club, to get interviews. So I did that. And then I had to go up to Derby's training grounds to do an interview with him specifically. And I knew that Kincladze was there. So I took the jersey from the 99 playoff final, the horrible lurid one with the pea green and the dark blue stripes, and got his autograph. And when I arrived at the training grounds, there were about 300-400 fans there. And I remember thinking, blimey, that's a decent turnout for training. And they were all City fans. They were all Blues there to get Georgie's autograph.
I'm going to what about Laporte then? Because you've got a £60 million defender there now, who every time the camera pans on him, looks like he wants to throttle someone. How is he going to get? Because now remember, he's not getting in the France team, and now he's not even getting in the Man City team. What has he got to do? Is he going to wait for Stones or Diaz to drop something, or is he just? How does he get back into this? I mean, Kurt, we'll start with you. How does Laporte get back into this?
Well, assuming that the season carries on, the schedule's so heavy, he will be selected when he's fit because rotation's going to be, Pep, even in an unfixture schedule, we know how Pep likes to swap people about a lot, So he'll get his chance. And the reality is, in any position in the team is when you get your chance, you've got to take it. That's the reality of being in a squad this deep is sometimes you're going to be out of the squad through no fault of your own, just based on other people performing at a higher level. And so, like I say, when he gets his opportunities, whatever games it may be, whether it's in the Champions League, the Cup, the FA Cup, whatever it be, he's got to take his opportunity and say why he needs to be the one starting and just keep trying to give Pep headaches.
Tyrone Douglas, I know he's injured, mate, but he wasn't in the team before he was injured. That's why I'm asking the question. Chris, Laporte, you just like you said, just wait on rotation now and take his chance?
Well, like you said there, if he's fuming that he's out of the team, then I'd rather that than he was sat there like Ben Mendy being a cheerleader, mate.
I don't know for a fact he's fuming. I'm just going off when you see pictures of him.
Well, I hope that he is, mate. I hope he wants, Well, I hope he isn't happy, mate, because that's what he'll come back in and he'll put in a proper performance. And like Pep said, the reason he's playing Stones and Diaz is because they're not making mistakes. And Laporte had made a few mistakes leading up to Diaz's arrival. So I've got every faith in Laporte to come back and do well. Absolutely, he's a quality player, and he will get plenty of game time. But I don't want him to be a Ben Mendy sat on the sidelines, clapping his hands and all that crap. I'm with Simon. Anyone but Mendy.
And guys, stop putting in Laporte's injured. I know he's injured, but he was out of the team before he was injured. Let's remember that, Simon. And I'm talking about how good Stones and Diaz are. How does Laporte break that?
Well, I think as Kurt said, once he gets an opportunity, and he will at some point, particularly if we go deep in the Champions League, which we hope we will, there's 50, 60 games to play in a season. And once he's back fit, at some point, he'll get a chance. And Laporte's a quality player. I mean, it's only 12 months ago that, we were all saying, blimey, if Laporte's not in the team, we've not got a defence. All of a sudden, we don't need him. It's a nice problem for Pep to have. He'll be fine. And again, we talked about Sterling earlier on in the program. Yeah, before he got injured, he made a few mistakes, but he's a quality player. He's a top-class player, and he'll be back, and he'll be fine. And I think he's still got a big part to play in City's future. But at the moment, it's Stones and Diaz. And, why would Pep change it at the moment? He'd be stupid to.
Yeah. Spencer, if you were Laporte, you're a defender sat on the sideline watching Diaz and Stones.
Yeah. What's
running through your mind?
Yeah, this is it, right? So when you're a player and you're watching the team play and they're keeping all these clean sheets and they're going really well, and even Pep's coming and talking about how well they're defending now, and then you go to training next week, and in fact it's not even, you're driving into training and you're in your car and you're thinking, I hope I'm in the gaffer's mind. I really hope I'm his favourite. I really hope I'm one of his favourite two that's going to play. That's appearing. And he ain't in that now. I don't think he's in that. Whether he's injured or not, I think Stones and Diaz will be, if Pep's going to be playing in the Champions League final, I think Stones and Diaz is his favourite pairing. So
that's where
as a player, if you're not the gaffer's favourite, it's then about how the manager manages you to keep you happy, to make sure that you're still on board, whether it's one-on-one chats, whether it is that rotation in terms of getting in games when you can get in games. But sometimes, unless the manager makes you feel really special when you're part of the longer term thing, if the manager throws you in for a game as part of a rotation, that doesn't in itself keep you happy, because it's like, well, he's just playing me to rest John Stones or Diaz, right? So it's how he's managed off the pitch to make sure that he's still happy and still part of the longer term thing. And every team you need 3 good centre backs, right? You really do. You need at least 3. With the amount of football that they're playing, there is going to be that rotation, but you just hope for the key games that you are the gaffer's favourite.
Can I tell you how deeply Spencer thinks about central defenders? A few years ago, I was hosting the Premier League coverage on Fox here in Australia, and Spencer was one of the pundits. And we were doing Liverpool-Man United. Do you remember? This massive game at the top of the table at the time, and all these stars. And I said to Spencer, what are you really looking forward to watching tonight? And he goes, I'm really looking forward to watching Jamie Carragher.
Yeah. I'm not all razzle dazzle, mate. It's, you know, ultimately you keep clean sheets. If you've got a little bit of fancy dancy about you at the other end, that's how you win games.
Well, that's the point like Spencer just said then. Remember Liverpool when they won and everything? They have a partnership at the back which barely changed, whether it was
Leicester.
anything.
Leicester. Look at Leicester.
So I don't think it is as simple as Laporte just comes in when he gets his chance, because it's when he gets. Because I'm not sure right now. We've seen in some of these cup games, Diaz is still playing, Stones is still going out even in the cup games. So when is Laporte getting his chance? Because right now I'm not 100% sure PEP'S, like Spencer said, is actually going to change those two right now.
But you never know when injuries are going to strike, or players get suspended, they accrue yellow cards, or, you know, I mean, we've seen with Johnson, and I'm not trying to jinx him in any way, shape, or form, because he's in great nick at the moment. But Stones has these big dips in form, doesn't he? So at some point he'll get an opportunity, and then as Kurt says, it's up to him to take it.
Got to fit Nathan Aki in somewhere as well. I mean, it's a good thing. It's the first
Left
time.
back.
That's a good shout. It is a good shout, but yeah, maybe Aki to left back. Maybe that's the only place Aki can go.
Right, and I go back to a point I made a few weeks ago when I was banging on about partnerships and what Les got said in an interview about he knew that the best way for him to be in the starting 11 was to be the best partner for Vinny, and Dzeko knew that the best way to get in the teams to be the best partner for Serge. You know, Laporte's got to figure out, mate, Diaz is obviously the one. When I play with Diaz, I got to show that I'm a better partner with Diaz than Stones, and that's the way he's going to get himself as the number one or number two. Until then, he's going to be three. And like Spencer said, three in a Premier League side that are playing in every competition and go deep in competitions every year. He's going to get a lot of games. When he comes back fit, assuming we still play, I don't see him not getting picked. He'll get games.
Yeah. City Chip, he says, Simon, whatever happened to Simon Colissimo?
Simon Colosimo is actually living in Belgium at the moment, or Holland, one of the two. He's working for FIFA Pro, the World Player Organization. So he was on the PFA over here for a long time, and now he's moved back to Europe, and he's doing it over there.
Got a bit of breaking news, guys. According to about 300 comments, Laporte's injured. What I'm being told.
I'm still waiting for confirmation, though. I don't believe this is all rumors.
Oh, and apparently Aki's injured as well.
Breaking news.
It's all rumors, mate. PEP'S just lying, false narratives, so they don't know he's going to start on the weekend. That's what's going on.
This brings me nicely into my next subject. Sergio Aguero. Currently isolated due to being in contact with someone with a positive COVID case. Do you think we'll ever get a stream or ever get a day in the year when we don't mention COVID at any point, any conversation we ever do? I'd love that day. Sergio Aguero, Simon, come to you first on this. Would you give him another year, or what would you do with Sergio? Because right now, Andy, who comes on the channel, who's not on the channel, he runs it. It's his channel. Who comes on? He thinks Sergio might be not having a future at City anymore. He thinks his knee injury might be more serious than what we all think.
I would give Sergio a contract for as long as he wants it, because A, he's a club hero, he's a legend. Mm-hmm. B, he's a natural goal scorer. So even if he's not going to start every week, then he is such a valuable player to have. So, yep, I would definitely be keeping Sergio. I think you need that link with, you know, the past of the club, the recent past, obviously, but particularly with losing Vincent Kompany and David Silva as well. I think Sergio is a vital link with that past. He understands the DNA of the club, even though he's not from Manchester. So, I would keep Aguero. However, that's not to say I wouldn't be looking at signing another striker, because I think we need one, because Gabby is a little bit injury prone, a little bit in and outs, even though he's a natural goal scorer as well. I'd be looking to sign Haaland, but that might not be possible. But he's the best.
took the words right out of my mouth. Haaland is the guy I want at Man City, not Messi.
Surely Alfie can have a little impact on that. Surely.
You'd
Are you
hope so.
in contact with Alfie?
No, I've spoken to him a couple of times on Twitter, like little DM stuff. But you would absolutely hope he's got a little bit of an insight into that, and he can make that happen.
He's a City fan as well, isn't he? Erwin Haaland. He went to the League Cup final in 2014.
Oh, don't find me. You're getting me all excited now. I'm hoping it comes. You know, it happens. The problem is then will City pay the money that everyone will be spinning around. It'll be like vultures around the carcass when Haaland becomes available. Everyone will be circling.
Yeah.
Let him circle.
Chris, Sergio Aguero.
Tough one for Sergio because he needs to play, mate, because this is his last season. He's are you going to pay somebody, 250 grand a week or whatever he's on if he's not playing? And that's an issue, I think, for Pep. If Haaland's available, then we should do whatever we can to get him. But the day Sergio leaves, mate, you know, it'd be the same as when Zaba left and David Silva left. You know, club legends, people that have, and Vinny, obviously, the four of them are just. Yeah, Aguero being the last to go as well. Just be gutted. Like, the guy's done everything for this club. You know, he set us on this path with that goal. Just something about that guy. You know, he's synonymous with City, and he will be forever. I would love him to stay. I'd love him to get back in the team and start banging the goals in, and he stays for a season or two. I think on Simon's point is whether he would accept being second choice to somebody like Haaland if he was to come in.
Where does that, like, Sam, where does that, I mean, Sam just said, don't think Jesus. Where does that leave Jesus? Because he's going to go from second choice, drop down to third choice.
Yeah, but Jesus can play in different positions as well. He can play in wider positions. And, you know, Kurt made this point earlier, with modern football the way it is today, and you're playing in the Champions League, cup competitions, you're playing 60 games a season. So he is going to get opportunities. You need 3 or 4 central defenders, as we've talked about. You need 3 or 4 strikers. I think that the striking department at the moment is one where we're lacking. You know, back in the day, we had Balotelli, we had Dzeko, we had Aguero, and there's another one. Yep, as well. You know, we had 4 top strikers, and 2 of them probably couldn't play every week either, maybe more. So you need that squad depth for the amount of games that you're going to play, and if you're going to challenge on all fronts. So I think Sergio, it might be difficult for him to accept that he's not going to play every week. But what is he now? 33, I think, Sergio. You know, he'll understand what happens with footballers. I'd be doing everything to keep him because he can still score and he's got City DNA. So I would never if he wants to go, that's a different matter. But if he wants to stay, I'd be doing everything to keep him. Why would you sell him? He's a legend.
Apparently PSG are after him now.
Good. Well, they can go after him all they like, but I wouldn't be
What
selling
deal
him.
for Mbappe?
Look, he's not going to leave for money.
That might be different.
He's not going to leave for money. So, you know, a PSG might actually want to come after him, and someone's right. Let him come. Let him come after him. But he's not going to. I don't think he's at that stage in his career where he's going to be driven by the dollar. It will be by a new experience. If he wants to go, it will be for a new experience and for a lifestyle choice.
Or so he'll go back to Argentina to play.
Exactly. Maybe to Argentina. He might go to US. You might even see him rock up here for a year in the MLS. You really could.
Bring him to Australia, Spen. We'll have him. Melbourne City.
But look at these two down here getting excited.
What were you drinking last night? You absolute man. Seriously. Do you know what, right? If he does become available, someone will write that. Someone will actually write that. You know, he should come down to Sydney or to Melbourne. But, you know, he'll go for an experience. And as we said, he should stay at Man City as long as he wants to stay because of that link between the past and past success and where they are now. And he'll go on his terms. And until then, the club will keep him on board. They'll keep him on board. It won't be a financial decision why he wants to go. It'll be a lifestyle thing.
I just need to bring this up because I made this point privately, I think, the other night to the lads. Shadow says, haven't we got the maximum amount of foreign players you can in your team? So we'll have to get rid of one or two to bring in more. This is my issue. We're talking about bringing in 3 and 4 players. We're going to have to get rid of 3 or 4 out the door.
Mendy. There's 2 obvious ones, isn't there?
Well, go on then. No,
Sorry?
I'm not mentioning his name because you want to talk about him. I am not mentioning the M word tonight. It ain't happening.
Well, you know me, I would get rid of Mendy and Mahrez for next to nothing, mate. Pair of clowns.
Interesting.
What about
Rodri, Chris? Are you a fan?
Do you know what? I want to give a bit more time, Simon, but I am not convinced by Rodri at all. Not when I compare him to Fernandinho, mate. He's absolutely nowhere near his level.
I'm the same. Spen?
No, same. The Mahrez situation is really strange. He's not quite done it to the level that everybody was expecting to. When he coming from Leicester, and like the guy's been thrown under the bus at times as well. When you've seen him playing as a number 9, Jay-Z in a 9, I'd love to. That would have been like so lovely, you know, as a centre back when you suddenly you're expecting to play against Aguero's and you finish up with Mahrez playing at 9. He had a 9. So it's how does he fit into the longer term future, given Raheem Sterling is the first out and out choice wide right? So cash in, but Mendy is he doesn't fit in, and he, again it's the gaffer's. Is he the gaffer's favourite? So if he's not, off ski. You know, and fill it with new blood.
I'm just going to bring up the super chat that Ross has brought up for us. Where's it gone? It was there. Bring it back. There it is. These comments are jumping all over tonight. Thank you very much, Ross. Appreciate that, buddy. We need to get back to 4 strikers. Why is the question always one about him? Competition is good. Successful clubs keep hold of players. I know that, but as I just said, Ross, we're near the maximum or at the maximum of our foreign quota. We can't just stockpile players, mate. We've got a certain number we have to keep and a certain number we'll have. That was the whole point of Diaz. We couldn't sign a defender without Otamendi going out the door. It's not as easy as just sign up, and nobody goes out the door. And the problem is, with Man City players, they're on so much money. They're going to have to take either a massive pay cut, or Man City are going to have to pay half the wages like they're doing with Otamendi still. Mendy's at Benfica, and we're paying half his wages off. So it becomes a problem.
Better there, though, mate.
Can I just make a point?
Yeah. Sorry, Chris, will you just take over for 1 minute, buddy, while I just... I'll be back in one more.
No, I was just going to make a point as to Ross's comment about 4 strikers. I'd just like him to name me one team in the whole of Europe that has 4 strikers, like 4 good strikers. Nobody does, because everyone plays with wide players. Almost everyone plays with a single 9, unless they play with 3 at the back and they play 2 up top, like Inter Milan, you know, teams like that. Leipzig, Poulsen, Forsberg, you know. So it's just there's not that many strikers about. Not many. How many true number 9s are there about that are under the age of 30 that are good?
That's a good
point.
They just don't look about, do they? I'd love to go back to the days of having Dzeko, Sergio. It's just those days aren't. Unless we decide that we're going to a back 3 and consistently going to play 2 up top, then you get rid of wide players and you bring in more centre forwards. But I don't think Pep's never going to do that.
Well, that's the bonus of Jesus, isn't it? That you can play him as a wider player, and players like Sterling and Mahrez are sort of interchangeable as well. They can play as a 9 and have played as a 9 because they've had to. Torres the same.
Mm-hmm. It's just wide forwards and strikers, the way I see it, Dave. There's not even that many true wingers anymore, you know, that go past people and just put it in. A lot of the time, they're inside forwards that are just trying to score goals, you know, like Mane, Salah, players like that, you know. I
think you're right, Kurt, in the fact that 4 is probably too many, but we are short of one. There's no
we certainly are short of one, yes.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, that's
you need 3 players who can get you consistently goals every season that you can rely on.
Spencer, I mean, you're a former player. It's great having a lot of players, but has Andy Blooming got a point? How do you keep them all happy?
You can't. You can't. And then this, you know, I talked a little bit about Laporte and how the manager has to manage him off of the pitch, and that man management side of making sure that, you know, when they are called up, they're ready, because if they're not ready and they come and play and they're average, the media thing over there is so aggressive that they jump on it. So there's all these questions: is he happy? Isn't he happy? And then there's all these stories that can get made up, and you got agents behind the scene working to try and move players around, because that's how they make their their money. They need to move players. It's not by keeping them at a club. They move them around. So the agents getting in players' ears, and no club's got 4 strikers, as Kurt said. I think you need 2. You've got to have 2, and they probably won't play together at the same time, because the reality is you'll play one and then you'll have one that will sit off as a deep lie or attacking midfielder, you know. So very different type of roles that you'll want from your striker. Often they won't play 2 together, and if you do, then they need different assets. So keeping players happy is spinning plates, right? Sometimes, you know, if they're playing really well, you don't focus on that one. It's spinning well, you don't focus on that one so much. And then someone's having a bit of a wobbly one, just go and give them a little tweak and just get them going again to make sure they're all on board. And that's the art of management. And it's often not the manager, Chris. It's often the assistants around him that will do that sort of role as well.
Spen, who was the best manager or managerial combo that you played under that was good at managing those sort of situations, keeping players happy, or at least most of them?
Jim Smith and Steve McLaren, actually. So there was Jim, Steve McLaren, and Steve Round, and then we had Bill Bezic as well. So that whole combination, you very, very rarely wanted to get isolated with Jim, but you'd often sit and talk an awful lot to the other 3, and they were first class.
Can I ask a follow-up for that, Spencer? Do you think that's potentially because obviously McLaren worked a long time under Fergie, right? And obviously, I'm assuming that the principles that he learned there would follow on to his
that came after. That was after. Yeah, he went from Derby to Man United.
I thought it was my mistake. No,
he went the other way. So he's an unbelievably good coach. But then that transition into management, he kind of didn't. You know, he went on as England manager, and he wasn't really super successful as a club manager. It's very, very different art of being a good, solid assistant that can communicate, that be there for the players to come to. You know, the players will come to you and talk to you. And that's a real art of a good assistant as well. They don't want to talk to the manager. If they're struggling, the manager is probably the last person you go knocking on his door, because you don't want to get told, sorry, mate, you ain't playing great and you're not my favourite at the moment. So you go to the assistants. They're your little comfort blankets.
Who do you have your biggest blowout with, Spen?
Meggie.
Gary Megson.
Yeah.
Another ex-City boy. What was that about?
It was stuff that was going on. It was outside football, actually. No, I'll tell a story. So basically, Claire, you know, we were training one day. Claire got rushed into hospital. And we were training, and one of the Duncan Foley, who's one of the staff members, he came running out to talk to Meggie on the training pitch and told him what was going on with my missus, that she'd been rushed into hospital. And Meggie said, I'll tell him after training, it's an important session. And I actually I got told after that she was in hospital, and I got up there and I missed her going in for an operation. And let's just say the blowout with Meggie after was pretty ordinary in terms of that side.
I'm just going to bring in Ross because he's bringing in loads of comments there. Ross is saying that we should buy, next year we should have Jesus, Aguero, Haaland and Messi.
Easy as that.
It's like a Monopoly board, isn't it? It's like a Monopoly board of footballers.
Listen, here's another one.
Wow.
Click on, guys. Because I go on Garcia, Mahrez, Mendy and Rodri, I'd move on personally in the summer.
Well, Garcia is going anyway.
But here's my thing on some of this. Rodri, I get he's not everyone's cup of tea, but you move Rodri on. You then got Fernandinho, will be 36, 37. And he's only going to sign a 1 year. So you're going to have to sign a Rodri replacement or a Fernandinho, whichever one you want to call it. You're going to have to buy a new CDM. You want to get rid of Mahrez, you're going to have to buy another right winger. You get rid of Mendy, you're going to have to buy a left back. Then you want to bring in Haaland and Messi at the same time. It is not FIFA. We have not got 400 or 500 million just to go wham, bam, all in your coat. We have not. You know we haven't, Sam. FFP would be down on us within 2 seconds.
That's true.
It's not FIFA, guys. This is my point. We'll also get rid of him and him and him and him and bring out as much. Ross, listen, we'd all love that. Haaland, Messi. I've said to him, it won't happen. It's going to be A or B. If they go after Messi, forget Haaland. If they go after Haaland, forget Messi. It won't be both. Not in my eyes.
Messi would be great from a commercial perspective, but from a football perspective, I'd rather Haaland.
Yeah,
and it sounds really dumb, but I think the Messi thing would be short term, whereas I think the Haaland thing would if you got Diaz at one end of your spine and you've got Haaland at the other, and then you can potentially in the next year or two then bring in someone in the middle, you've got an unbelievable spine for a generation. That would be where I would go.
Messi is too old. If Messi is free, listen. Oh, we'll wait and see. But listen, I'm not gonna. People are trying to go fishing here, trying to get me to go down the Dad's Army route. I'm not gonna do it. So what we are gonna finish on though. I'm only going to spend about 10 minutes on this. It's come out in the last 24 to 48 hours. Some news that everyone kind of knew. Former referee, Mr. Mark Clattenburg, has confirmed that Manchester United were getting favoured from referees back under Sir Alex Ferguson. He basically come out and said, I'll read you the exact quote that is. I'm not sure if everyone's heard this or not. They're talking about they were interviewing Mark Clattenburg for the Daily Mail. He said he's talking about Jurgen Klopp. Hypocrisy, talking about he questioned Man United's recent penalty record, but most shocking was Mark Clattenburg's admission of referee bias at Old Trafford. He said he sounds like a hypocrite if he's suggesting United's players are looking to win penalties. Clattenburg claimed in the Daily Mail. He said. Talks about he's clearly getting edgier, talking about Klopp. He said he is wrong to suggest there is an aura around United that seems to give them favourable decisions. There used to be when Fergie was there, but that had eased massively since he left. Now, as much as that was just a throwaway comment, a lot of people have said, Simon, does that really surprise you that that's now been admitted by a former professional Premier League referee that United got favoured?
Favoured in what? Intimidated?
It just
paid.
says that when Ferguson were there, they got sort of favourable decisions. Basically, they got looked upon in a more favourable way.
To be honest, I hadn't read those quotes. I'd love to see them put into context, and I'd like to read the full article, because I mean, if he's saying that happened deliberately, then that's a very, very serious allegation, and one that I would imagine the Premier League and the FA would be looking into, because you're suggesting that referees were bent. And personally, I don't think that's the case. For all that everybody who's a football fan watches the game like this in favour of our own team. So for whatever we might see that United get a lot of penalties and say, oh, well, that's referee bias. The whole world thinks that referees are biased. But if a referee is actually coming out and saying, yeah, that happened, then that's a massive issue.
Well, what I'll do is
this goes beyond this goes beyond club rivalries. If that's true, then there's got to be a proper investigation into that.
I'm going to read you a full quote.
That football is not clean.
This is the full exact quote that he said. It's in a, these former referees and like Alan, they all have these little columns, don't they, in the newspapers over here. And apparently Jurgen Klopp's come out and said that United are getting favourable penalties this year and it's hypocrisy and everything else. So Clattenburg's had his say within the Daily Mail. And this is the full quote. He said, "It sounds like a hypocrite if he is suggesting United players are looking to win penalties. The likes of Mo Salah and Sadio Mane are just as capable of employing similar tactics. He is clearly getting edgy, though, because not since Fergie have we seen such a blatant attempt to influence a referee ahead of a big game. Klopp wasn't doing this last season when Liverpool were winning every week. He does not like losing. He never has. He gets prickly. He is wrong to suggest there is an aura around United that sees them given favourable decisions. There used to be when Fergie was there, but that has eased massively since he left." That is the full quote.
Well, an aura around the club is different to saying referees deliberately gave them penalties.
You've actually picked one part of a story, and not you necessarily, but the Mail for clickbait have centered on one little part of that article to focus on blowing up and making a mountain out of a comment that really, that aura, everyone knew the aura, right? You can't have it that Fergie time is an actual thing that people knew about, right? Fergie time at the end of a game.
Did you ever feel that at Old Trafford when you were there with City?
I only played there once in the derby, and no, not at all, not at all. I never felt it there, actually. I had a reasonably good record there. We won there with Leicester. We drew there with Leicester, but we drew with Derby.
I think one of the things to consider here is that referees are only human. And if you're playing at a ground that has, all right, obviously not at the moment, but 75, 80,000 people inside it, and you've got a very vociferous bench, and obviously Fergie always was, and Klopp is to a certain degree now, PEP'S as well, let's be honest. They all try and put pressure on the officials. Then you have to understand that officials are human, and they're going to be, if not influenced, they're going to be, badgered into at least looking at those decisions. Whereas maybe if they're viewing the same decision at a Bournemouth with only 10 or 11,000 people inside, they're not going to be as under pressure, if you like. Look, this is one of the reasons, and I am no fan of VAR. I hate it with a passion. But this is one of the reasons why they did bring in VAR, to try and help the refs. I think it's been counterproductive, and I know that's a completely different topic for discussion. But that's one of the reasons they brought it in, because there is so much harassment of officials. I always thought that the culture of the game needed to be tackled first. I think this is, giving into mob rule with VAR and saying, well, we can't stop the harassment, we can't stop the pressure on officials, therefore we need to help the officials. I think if they stop the harassment of officials by managers, players, crowds to a large degree, stop the abuse of refs, and have a little bit more respect for officials, as they do in rugby union, then maybe we get a few more decisions right. I mean, the referees still get most of the decisions right anyway. But that's an interesting comment from Clattenburg. I wonder if the FA or the Premier League might have something to say about that, because he's suggesting there that they lent towards one team, or at least they were pressured towards leaning to one team, which is not right.
Well, like Spencer says, I mean, I'm only reading a quote from the Daily Mail, and it was, and like this might be out of context. We don't. How many footballers have we heard who were misquoted, or it was said in a different context? I'm not saying. Listen, I was one of those fans. You used to always go to Old Trafford, and you thought you're never getting a penalty there, because I remember the 95-96 when United got that dodgy penalty when we were 1-0 up in the FA Cup. I always remember that game when Roy Keane had to go at the referee and then clapped him 20 seconds later when he got a penalty. And I'm always thinking, that's just the way it is. But I was watching, it was on ESPN earlier as well with our friend Ian Dark, who loves to quote every single Manchester City player's prize tag as he's commentating at the same time. And there was Frank Leboeuf.
We just cop it. It's
I'm going to finish. I'm coming to you on that in a bit.
Referees.
Frank Leboeuf and Shaka Hislop. And them two were quite really gobsmacked by the quotes. It was like, Chris, where are you at with this? Do you think it's just shocking, or is it just something we kind of might have already knew?
Look, I am one-eyed when it comes to them pair of clubs, mate. Liverpool and United get favoured, I think, more than anyone else does, and I think there's a reason for it. They sell dishes, mate. They sell the Premier League. It's good to have those two clubs up there because it sells them. And there's no way that United, like you say with VAR, Simon, there was that latest penalty that United got when Pogba tripped himself up, and they still got a penalty. United get so many close calls, I think, that other teams don't. There was a push on Sterling in the Brighton game where I think the defender eased him off the ball, if I'm being honest, but it was quite a firm easing off. He did the same thing 2 minutes later on the byline, and it's a free kick, straight away a free kick. I just feel that over the years, I've seen it happen with United. They get decision after decision. When they won the league for the first time, how many minutes over the extra time was that to win their first Premier League title?
Hey, you say that. They even won a game after the full-time whistle went.
Well, they got penalty, didn't they?
Game of football ever.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Spencer, have you ever been involved in a game where... Sorry, Chris. Go on, finish, Chris. Sorry.
No, so it's fine. Go on.
Spencer, have you been involved in a game where you've seen a team win a game after the full-time whistle? I've never seen that.
No.
Oh, that's just... Kurt, your thoughts on Mr. Clattenburg's?
Well, for me speaking personally, I don't really take too much from the written articles with the quotes, because a lot of the time, they're speaking about the interview and then they quote a line and then they're speaking about the interview, and it's not really, unless I have the transcript of the interview where I can see the question asked, the question given, the question asked, the question given, I don't really take too much notice of it, because like Simon and Spencer say, it's just click stuff. But with Chris's point, the bigger clubs with the more vociferous fan bases are always going to get preferential treatment in any league. It's the same in Portugal, it's the same in Germany, it's the same in Italy, it's the same in France, it's the same over here. It's not necessarily about the quote-unquote size of the club, it's more about how the fans will react. Like, for example, the ref might give a decision if Liverpool are away at Southampton because it's not his only X amount of away fans from Liverpool, so he doesn't feel as influenced. But when he's a decision right on the cart, and he's got, like Simon said, they're only humans. And that's the good thing about VAR, is to help them if they go, you know what, mate, you've bowed to a bit there, that was wrong. But with regards to like the 50-50s or the 60-40s, they always go in favour of the home teams usually and the bigger teams usually. So nothing new, whatever.
Spencer, come on, you're the player. With what Kurt's just said, and Chris, have you ever felt that as a player going to, when you played for Leicester or Derby, going to an Anfield or a Old Trafford, did you ever feel like the bigger teams got favoured?
I don't want to talk about penalties because we had that with Leicester against Chelsea in the FA Cup quarter-final where Erling Johnson died. Dirty little cheating git.
I'm glad you said git at the end.
Far out. I've had counselling for this. I don't need to go back to it again. Yeah, but you do. Do you know what? It's part of your mental preparation as a footballer. Ultimately, at the level I was playing at and the clubs I was playing for, that decisions are going to go against you that you might not normally go against you, and how you just adapt in the moment to stay in the game, and you don't let that stuff affect you. It's part of a footballer's mentality that you know some decisions are going to go against you that you don't think should go against you. So how's that going to affect you? Some players who lose their rag and lose their concentration, that then gives the opposing players the advantage, and they get one over you already straight away. So that's from a player's perspective. Yeah, you know, sometimes you're going to go to Highbury, or we were Highbury or Old Trafford or Anfield, and things were going to go against you. But it's part of the game.
I think, right, this is what I'm seeing, is Liverpool and Man United players will throw themselves over in the box as much as they can. At the minute they will. And I feel that they will get decisions, knowing that they get more decisions than other teams do. And that's why they do it.
But we had less of that, Chris. We had a lot less of that. The players that we were playing against, there were less of those players around.
Jurgen Klinsmann.
Yeah, but he was the first, right? He was the first. But there weren't really many others that we were playing against in the Premier League. The majority tried to stay on their feet. They really did. You know, we're seeing now that absolute slightest touch, and players are going over, and it's not enjoyable to watch.
No. Spencer, so I know we need to wrap things up in a moment. Kian wants to know, have you ever felt, oh no, sorry, ignore that. I don't know why I put that one up. But Kian wanted to know, I'll find in a minute, have you ever been involved in a game where you thought it was rigged?
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah. I've never played in a game that was that bad, made you really, we always, as Simon said, we should be more respectful to the officials. And I probably played in games where there was some where you challenged the officials more than other times. But no, never played in a game where I thought it was.
Did you ever look at who officiated in the game when you were playing, like when the team sheets come out and you got the old ref at the bottom? Did that ever bother you? Do you think this ref's for like this or this, or did you never pay no attention to that?
No, I always had a good reputation with a lot of referees. Always good banter. But the banter used to be really good. I don't know what it's like now, right? But it used to be you could have really great banter with them on the pitch.
Yeah. Simon, I've got one question for you before we wrap up. I was joking earlier. Have you heard Ian Dark's commentating for Man City? And I'm only asking this as a commentator.
Yeah, look, as a commentator, you tend to see the game slightly differently once you've worked as a commentator, because this accusation of bias follows you everywhere. And it's the same for me here in Australia. You know, I'm from Manchester, obviously, originally. Mm-hmm. And I get accused of being pro-Sydney because I live in Sydney, anti-Sydney because obviously, I've got a connection with Melbourne City because they're connected with Manchester City. I've been accused of being pro-Brisbane because my ex-wife was from there. I'm anti-New Zealand because I live in Australia. I'm anti-West Coast because I live on the East Coast. It never stops. And fans, it's a nonsense. If you were biased towards or against a team deliberately, your bosses would pick that, and you would not be working as a commentator for very long.
Yeah, but
It's an absolute nonsense. It's a nonsense.
BT like that anyway, mate.
And let me tell you, back in the day when I worked in the UK, and I covered City on a couple of occasions, and everybody knew I was a City fan, and I found it very difficult to work with City because of that connection. And the season in particular, when we got promoted in 01-02, Kevin Keegan made our life very, very difficult when I was at ITV. And I didn't enjoy working with City at all. So for all everybody says, oh, well, you're a Man City fan, so you must be biased towards them every week. Let me tell you, during that season, there were 1 or 2 games I almost wanted us to lose because they treated us so badly. So people don't see that stuff because, you only see things as a fan, and you love your club, and it's brilliant. I get all that because I'm a fan myself. But when you work as a commentator, trust me, you ain't biased. You can't be, because you'd lose your job, and you're not in that. Like I call the City Real Madrid game for Optus Sport over here in the Champions League, and so many people said, "Oh, this is going to be difficult. This is going to be really difficult for you." And it wasn't. And I knew it wasn't going to be, because when you're in that moment of calling the players, you're following the game. It was afterwards that I was happy that we'd, beaten Real Madrid. But during that 90 minutes, you are so focused on your job. And it's a really difficult job, commentary. So you don't have time to think, I'm going to cheer for this team or against that team. It's just a nonsense. But people think it's the price tag, because they watch it like this.
It's the price tags, though, because when you watch Ian Dark commentate, he doesn't name every player's price tag. He does for City.
But he's not doing that deliberately. Let me tell you, when you're in a 90-minute call, he's probably got a few of those things in his head because those are talking points. They might have been on the back page of the media, or his contract might be coming up, or he might be the most expensive player that City have signed, or the least expensive, or whatever. They are talking points. He is not doing it because he's sat there thinking, I'm going to have a crack at Man City here today. That's not how commentators think. They're trying to do the best possible job and be as interesting as they can and create talking points. But I guarantee you, I have yet to come across, and I've worked in this industry for over 30 years, I have yet to come across a journalist, a reporter, or a commentator who deliberately goes into a game thinking, I'm going to smash this club. It just doesn't happen.
Chris is dying to jump in here, so go on.
No, not at all. I've got a question. No, I have got a question for Spencer and for Simon, and Kurt can answer as well. Phil Foden, the real deal.
Yeah. Simple as that.
And getting more games now, which is really good to see. Regular games, back-to-back games. 100% the real deal.
Yeah, he's
just had 4 games on the bounce, which is I think probably his longest run in the Premier League. Would you like to have played against him, Spence?
Not a chance. No. And the thing is, right, so you look at Man City now and you've got Phil Foden starting out wide left. And then you go, all right, well, I'll try and deal with him. And then suddenly, if you got through that and they replace him with Jesus, he comes on. It's like, what the hell is going on? The depth that they've got is so good, but Phil Foden's the real deal, and it's great to see him getting solid game time rather than just impact game time coming off the bench. It's good to see.
Yeah. Would you have given him a kick up the backside, Spen, if you could have got near him? Was that what you used to do first 5 or 10 minutes? Try and get one in early.
100%. Yeah.
I haven't.
And you could get away with it, right? You could get away with it then, and you might just get a little bit of a ticking off.
To be fair, Spencer, Diaz put one right on what's his face the other day, and he got away with that one.
Yeah.
So they do sometimes, but very rarely these days can you get away with it as much.
Exactly.
Simon, you've commentated on a lot of players. What did you think of Foden?
I love him.
Yeah.
Absolutely love him. To be honest, that I'm one of those who wanted to see more of him last season. But obviously, that was partly due to the fact that David Silva was still there, not exclusively. But I think this year is his season. He's got to. He's not got to. He is doing. He's starting to dominate and become an automatic selection, and that's what we anticipated from him. He's certainly got the ability to, and Pep loves him. He trusts him, and it's great because he's a local lad. He's a Blue. He's a City fan growing up, and for those of us of a certain generation, which most of us are here, maybe not you, Kurt. We still remember. Yeah, okay, Martin. We still remember City teams that had maybe 4 or 5 Mancs, or at least local boys that grew up, came through the system, and graduated into the first team. I still remember that the mid '80s, that FA Youth Cup winning team, Redmond and Hinchcliffe and Malden and Lake and David White. And we're not going to. It's a different era now, but it's nice to see the odd one breaking through. And Phil Foden is one of us, and he's brilliant, fantastic.
Brilliant.
I love him. Love him. Right, guys, then we're going to bring it to a close. We've been on for well over 2 hours now, longer than I promise. I keep Spencer and Simon because I know them.
I've got to go do some decorating.
Oh, lovely.
Guys, I was going to say a big thank you to Simon Hill for coming on, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thanks, lads. Great to
Great to have you on.
And a big thank you to Spencer, the former City centre back, who I love talking to. I think he's just amazing. It's such an honour to have a former player in Blue. And nice bloke on the channel. Thank you so much, Spencer.
Pleasure, guys. Thanks for coming. Thanks for having us on. And stay safe, guys. Look after yourself all over there.
And I'm sorry you have to put up with Alan. I do apologise.
Apologies for coming on late.
I apologise you've got to put up with Alan.
No, he's all right. He's a good guy.
Thank you, Kurt.
Yeah,
Spencer,
it's been a pleasure.
sorry, Martin. Spencer, did you ever have much to do with Colin Bell?
I'm not answering questions now. I'm done. I'm finished.
Oh, right. Yeah, before we go.
I didn't actually. I think we met maybe once or twice at the ground, but I didn't, unfortunately. Obviously, it's really sad. So,
You've just reminded me, Simon. I completely forgot, but you wanted to say something about the late great.
Yeah. Colin was in common with many of my generation. Colin was my absolute hero. I watched him in my first ever game at City in 1974 against Ipswich. And I shed a few tears last week, not just because I'm sad at his passing, but obviously I am, but because it was nice memories of going to games as a kid with my dad and my granddad. And I think that was what really sort of, resonated, going to Main Road and watching those legends. And I used to have a big cardboard poster of Colin on my wall. I only ever met him once, and I was like, I didn't have any words to say to him. It was at a junior blues meeting back in the 70s, and I remember being absolutely awestruck. So, yeah, very, very, very sad. The end of an era, but he'll go down. He's the best ever for me. I love Aguero. I love Company. I love a lot of other players, but there'll never be another Colin Bell.
No.
Words, mate.
Spot on. What way to finish. Kiam, Spence, Simon, Kurt, Chris and Martin, brilliant lads, thank you. Tom Hudson, been so good listening to a journalist point of view tonight, someone who's worked at the BBC, love it, Simon. I know Tom is one of our new presenters, and he's put in the comments tonight, Spencer, he does a show on Thursday, and I think he'd like you to come on one Thursday and have a chat with him, one-on-one.
all right. Perfect.
I'll put him in touch with you if that's all right, but
Go for it.
yeah, it'd be great. But yeah, Tom, there you go, mate. Chat with former City centre back. Trust me, mate, you'd love to watch this fella play. Really, really. Lovely guy, great player. But thank you all, Chris. Thank you.
Cheers, Martin. I'll see you soon, pal.
Thank you all in the comments. I apologise if I've not got through every single comment tonight. I really did. Colin Bell was family. He was. Great. Thank you very much, buddy. No, we're all a team there, mate. Martin is awesome. Great dedication to the show. Thank you, buddy. Cheers, lads. Thank you. I just want to say big thank you to you guys. Join Andy tomorrow for the Crystal Palace proper preview, where he will get in with a Crystal Palace fan and have a really good chat with him. And then I am back Sunday evening. I think it's 7 or half 7 kickoff. Anyone know?
It's 7:15.
7:15. I will be live at 7 for the live watch along. And you never know, you might see one or two of these back on.
That means 10 past then.
Shut up, you. Guys, a big thank you though to Spence and Simon, absolute superstars, proud of them. Thank you. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow here on the channel. Have a great weekend. And as always, up the Blues. Take care, guys.
See you guys.